जंगल कितना भी घना क्यों ना हो, शेरनी अपना रास्ता ढूंढ ही लेती है. And which is why I feel that this is a story probably of every woman. I think we are all navigating our way one step at a time through this thick jungle of patriarchy. I guess as an actor, you also feel like, kuch to karu. But every time I tried that, Amit would be like, no, the lesser is better, and he keeps it so realistic that I felt like challenged in this film.
Amit, I wanted to ask you, what was like the first point, beginning of this movie? I mean, when did you first think of it?
Philosophy of the film is something that writer Astha Tikku and me, we've been discussing this for a while now. It's been at least 3 or 4 years. Conservation is a human-centric activity, and how, like we are forgetting it, like we are letting it go, and we are letting, human activities are destroying the forest. So this was the core philosophy with which we approached the subject. And we realized that, like this is a very commonly held belief in conservation circles, that the tiger is a flagship species for conservation. As in, if you save the tiger, you end up saving the entire ecosystem that the tiger thrives in, including the deers, including the boars and frogs and butterflies. So everything gets saved. So it's a flagship species. So we wanted to do something with the tiger and centered around conservation. So that was the starting point.
But did it come out of anything that you had read or heard about and you were like, okay, I need to?
Conservation is something that we've all been familiar with because of global warming and climate change. And also because we live in, wherever we look around us, we see human encroachments. Like, for example, we live in Bombay. So we see leopards coming into the IIT campus or Goregaon city when we are shooting. So all these things keep happening, So you see these human-animal interactions, and then you dig deep. You see that this is happening all over the world where there are forests still left, and the people who live nearer to the forests are always the ones who are interacting with it, and also they see the backlash also of climate change. So these were the points that inspired us to dig deep and find some stories. And as you dig deeper into this, you start seeing patterns. It's the same pattern everywhere. There are 3 levels in which 3 or 4 levels that come into writing. The first level is zeroing down on the core philosophy, what you want to say. What we wanted to say here is that conservation is a community activity. You need an entire community, and you need a lot of effort, sustained effort to do it. Like in this case, like Vidya is a forest officer. She realizes this, and she realizes that she'll get transferred anytime. So she can't just go and do that one job that she's supposed to do. She's supposed to set up systems which ensure that this is an ongoing process, that after she leaves, this still continues. Then the second level is the character. You need to then find out who are these characters who inhabit this world. Now, the characters came with a little bit of profiling and research, meeting up with people and profiling them and reading articles, and, like looking at bureaucracy, how bureaucracy functions, how the forest department works. So this was the second level. And the third part is the plot, which is actually the easiest thing. It seems easy. It's actually quite tough. You spend a lot of time figuring out the plot, but compared to zeroing the philosophy and understanding the characters, this is relatively simpler. And writers get the plot right. And the fourth one is the little details. Now, these little details come in writing. They come in when the actors come in. They bring in their little details. It comes in props. It comes in costumes. It comes in the location. So these little details, they are added later. So they keep adding up to the whole thing.
Vidya, I want to ask you, like, your last movie would be Shakuntala, which I watched as well on Amazon. There was a person you could refer to, like, here is Shakuntala Devi, and this is what I have to be. When it's a character like this, how do you approach it? Like, did you sit with Amit and talk about who is this lady and where is she coming from and why is she an IFS officer?
Absolutely, with Amit and also Asa, the writer. And, I did a little bit of research. Amit facilitated my meeting with a few forest officers who gave me an insight into their lives as forest officers. What kind of training they've gone through, what are the various postings they
Yeah.
get, and what these postings entail, and then how it is, how is it really to be in the jungle for 3 years at a stretch sometimes, and what are the challenges they face. And I have no idea. Unfortunately, I'm not someone who reads up too much on conservation or the environment, and I wasn't really aware of the kind of job that this requires, and I was quite fascinated. But as far as the personality of Vidya Vincent is concerned, um, I think that is purely Amit and Astha. I don't know where they got that from, but I have to say that she's a woman of very few words, and very rarely have I, maybe once before, I've played a character like that. But she's very, Vidya has um, immense courage of conviction, and she's very self-assured, despite the fact that she doesn't make a show of it.
Yeah.
There are people like that. So I think I grappled a little with that, because I felt like I wanted her to be reactive sometimes, but I completely get where Amit was coming from, and I got a hang of who she really was. And we all know people like that, but I guess as an actor you also feel like kuch to karu. But every time I tried that, Amit would be like, no, the lesser is better, and he keeps it so realistic that I actually I felt like challenged in this film, which was a great feeling.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen all the time. People don't push you enough.
If you can challenge Vidya Balan, then that is a really well written character. Like, she's thinking about how to do this. Where did that come from? As she said, like, where did you guys get that character from?
I think it came from her, because we told her to, dig deep in and bring out the love she has for nature. I think she does love it. She lives by the sea. She did go on a lot of nature treks. It all, and when you walk in the jungle, a lot of times you start listening more, you start smelling, you start using all your senses, and you have to be very aware. You have to see where you're stepping. You have to be aware of what is around you. So I guess once she started getting into the process, I think she picked those nuances. And when she met these forest official ladies, you realize that a lot of them are very soft spoken, and they. So I think a lot of these qualities come from the nature of their job, which is looking after forests. There was a very detailed character sketch, but also I think Vidya brought in a lot of her own personality into it. So I think we are all very layered people. I mean, Vidya has that entire spectrum. Like, if she's done a No One Killed Jessica, she can also do a Shakuntala. So she has that entire range. So this was somewhere in that range that she had tapped in before, but I think she got into it wholeheartedly this time.
Obviously, it is about conservation, but because it's called Sherni, and because it is about her life journey and her career journey, it is also about women's rights and women's issues. And was there anything, Vidya, that you wanted to bring to this specifically?
Honestly, I didn't see it as a comment of any sort. We were trying to tell a story. I prefer if films are not preachy, so thankfully this is not one of those films. But I think there's a line in the teaser that really encapsulates the Sherni element for me, which is that jungle kitna bhi ghana kyun na ho, Sherni apna rasta dhoond hi leti hai. And which is why I feel that this is a story probably of every woman. She could be heading corporate, she could be a teacher in a school, she could be a journalist, an actor, a musician, a conservationist, a forest officer, whoever. I think we're all navigating our way, one step at a time, through this thick jungle of patriarchy, of which we are perpetrators as much as we are victims.
Yeah.
Because we don't even realize it. Yeah. So I think in that sense, when Amit said it's very layered, that's, there's not, like, people have asked me different things after watching the trailer. So normally you watch a trailer and you get a set of questions. And this time I'm getting different kinds of questions, which is interesting. So obviously the takeaway is different for different people.
Did you ever think, was it supposed to be releasing on OTT? I mean, it had been normal times, it would have maybe released in the theaters. But do you think this is a good platform because it will reach more people this way? And your topic is something that needs to reach every home, not just the people who go to the theater, maybe.
It is a universal subject, which is why I think it's perfect that it's going to be releasing in 240 countries on the same day.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the people, who don't speak Hindi, who've never watched a Hindi film, might just find this and watch the film. It will resonate with them because the issue is the same across the world. Of course, we made it for a theatrical release, but I think releasing on Amazon Prime is a boon.
Amit, what do you think?
No, I agree with her because, it was important for us to, release the film and reach out to people. This is a film, I think, that needs to be watched by as many people as possible. And Amazon is releasing it in 240 countries. So that's a very wide reach for us. It's a global release.
What was the hardest part for you to make this movie? It is talking about things which make us uncomfortable, which might make the government uncomfortable, which might make a lot of people uncomfortable. So what's the main challenge you face when you make movies like Newton or like this?
This is one topic on which no matter what side of the political spectrum you are on, you'll agree with. It's a matter of our survival, it's going to affect everyone. I was not bothered about anybody finding a problem with it, but I think it takes the same amount of pressure to make a film, any kind of film. So might as well make something that you really are passionate about. So that's how I look at it.
Somehow, because she's a Sherni, so she's a metaphor for a woman, and everybody's too worried about a Sherni being on the loose, like be it the forest officers or be it the villagers. So do you think it's really like, and I feel in the past few years, we have seen when women do raise their voices, it is a concern for everybody involved. Do you think there is a slight layer of that because she's a Sherni? Maybe if she was a Sher, there would have been a slightly different kind of reaction.
The best thing about a trailer is that it's doing its job, which is to create intrigue and create some sort of curiosity. And I would leave it to you to watch the film and then.
What do you want audiences to take away? Last question for both of you.
Different people have reacted differently to the trailer. And when I say differently, as in have had different reactions, have had different questions. They've created stories in their minds. They're guessing. The guessing game is on. Firstly, I think in these times when we've been cooped up in our houses, this film is going to be like a breath of fresh air. When my mom watched the trailer, she said, "Oh my God, I feel I'm out in the open." Yeah. So I think that's a great feeling. But more importantly, I think therefore, when you realize that like this film has changed me, Asta. I didn't feel, I probably am one of those who took nature for granted. I didn't quite understand what the hullabaloo was around conservation. And I wasn't, I was just sitting on the fence. I just didn't want to. This film has changed me. So I'm hoping that after watching this film, people realize that you don't need to be an activist or an environmentalist to do anything big, but the smallest acts on our part,
awareness, and then acting
go a long way. We can all make a difference.
I just want people to watch it and react to it and talk about it. I don't want them to just watch it once. I would like them to watch it multiple number of times because it's a layered film. So each time they watch it, they might see something new. They might discover something new.
And we want people to enjoy the film, like Amit said, not watch it once.
Yeah.
No.
Watch it again and
Vidya
again
Balan
and
movies
again.
are meant to be watched again and again. One self-care tip you'd like to give people that got you through the pandemic?
I think the pandemic has made me comfortable with silence, and silence often offers clarity and sometimes solutions. So I think a few minutes of silence a day, just try it.
One hobby you've picked up in the last 1 year.
I started reading again, and I'm thrilled about that because for years I'd stopped reading.
But you were a big reader. I remember we've
Yeah,
had this
but for
conversation.
years
Yeah.
I'd stopped reading. So
I
I'm
love
glad
it.
that I've begun to read again.
One great book you'd recommend that you read last year.
I always recommend The Alchemist. I revisited it, and
I
that's what got
revisited
me.
it.
Yeah.
I actually finished it like 5 days ago. I revisited
Wow.
The Alchemist. Yeah, this is a sign. That was the
Yeah,
right thing.
exactly.
One great show you watched, show, movie that you watched online, which you liked.
Oh my God, many, many, many. But I think most recently, Mayor of Easttown.
Ah, exactly. Lovely. And last one, what is the most Sherni trait you have in yourself?
कि मैं अपना रास्ता ढूंढ ही लेती हूँ.
That's true. You have carved your own rasta. Thank you so much, guys,
Thank
for
you,
taking the
Rasta.
time. Thank you. Thanks, Amit.
Thanks, Amit.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.